Welcome everybody. Welcome back to another reaction. Today we are going to react to ReZero, episode 11. Probably episode 12 as well, right? Do the double. I'm very excited. Very, very curious what we're about to see because obviously I do know the show. I have read the web novel way back when the light novel I think was not even fully out yet, the translations of them. And obviously, as maybe some of you might know, there's quite the difference between the light novel and the web novel. There's also quite the difference between the light novel and the anime as well. We do always have these differences when it comes to transferring a certain piece of media into another piece of media, especially if it's written to visual. The web novel being the longest and like the most, like with the most detail, but also maybe just the least fat trimmed of all of that, and because of that also a lot of like inefficiencies, a lot of stuff that maybe shouldn't make it into the final version of the story, which is gonna like, or the official version of the story, which is the light novel, which is being published. And so I'm very curious what's gonna make it into the episode specifically, but also what's gonna be on the menu today, because as much as I do remember the key points and I'm really looking forward to seeing everything in action, there's also the fact that after, I think, more than 2 years of not having read ReZero, there's a lot that I've forgotten. There's a lot we can still talk about, regardless of if I've forgotten or if I actually thought of it, if I still got it in my mind. Yeah, let's get into it. Gonna be a lot of fun. Episode 11, which is, I think, called Liliana Masquerade. Okay, so it's about Liliana. It's gonna start in 3, 2, 1. Like and subscribe. Ooh, her entire family, okay. Ooh, so we have like an entire group of people, not just like her mother and her. I do wonder what happened. If it's like normal that they split apart at some point. Look at that. I'm not subbing all that often, but if you see like something like that, right? Like the fire and like the awe in the eyes of a child looking up to, in this case, her mother. Something really special, right? Oftentimes, especially if you think back, right? You're trying to put yourself back into the shoes of such a small child, thinking like looking at this hero in their lives, who can sing, who can perform, who can bewitch other people, right? Who can really bring out their joy and happiness, their attention. There's a lot of fascination also for me personally, but for people in general, about like the performing arts. Being a singer, being a dancer, being somebody who is working in theater, right? Like who's acting in plays. There's something very raw about that, but also something very, you need the charisma for that, and you need to have that self-confidence. You need to really feel the moment that you're in and try to put yourself into the characters you're portraying. Put your heart and soul into the songs you're singing. And it's amazing to see what was probably Liliana's role model growing up. I do still wonder what happened, but these kinds of things, they define us, right? If we have somebody looking up to as we grow up. And it's even after we're a child, right? Sometimes like teenage years or young adult years, they can be very, very influential in what we decide we want to do, especially if we see people who are close to us doing well in these occupations and enjoying themselves, right? Putting their heart and soul into it. That's something really great. Look at the stars. Wonder where the father is. Over there. Yeah, no, I understand that, right? She's so energetic. I think this is so great. But you know what you see in this relationship? They weren't mad when she did something as, well, annoying as splashing water onto them, right? They were like, hey, stop it. But you do immediately see that there's no, like, there's a lot of trust in there. I still wonder what happened between. And no, I genuinely wonder, right? Yes, I have read the web novel, but I do not remember if we even heard Liliana's story. Or if that is like an addition made by the author for the anime version. Ooh, yeah, I remember that. The fire is not out yet, so she isn't knocked out. Oof. So it's not her story, but she doesn't like it. Says Wrath. ReZero has such an interesting take on the sins. Although I feel like Betelgeuse and her are unique in that regard. No, we were all in agreement and understanding. Would you not? And shut it down. Hmm. Hey. Priscilla over here acquiring her harem. Ooh. So she has some like magic stuff going on there, right? Like she does seem unfazed so far. I love her sword. It's really cool. Pioneer, huh? Holy hell. Let's go, Liliana. Put up a show. Yeah, you go for it. This is your moment. It's not about attention, it's about doing something for people. But of course she's an entertainer as well. Like her mother. But which song? Well, I love this shot with like the landscape. And this is her story, right? Did she just flee from home, right? Like take off, or try to forge her own path, I guess. I wonder where her mother is right now. Yeah, wants to meet up with her again. If she knows about her, maybe. Holy shit. Or if she's from a far distant land, right? and just arrived here in Lagunica at some point in time. What, really? Hmm. Ooh, Flügel. You don't put yourself down. Telling people's stories is important. How else are they gonna be an example for the future? A good or a bad one. So I do really wonder what drove her to become, right, like to split from her troop. I mean, we did see this dream that she had. But why did she feel the need to fulfill it and run away at such a young age, right? She didn't seem miserable. She didn't seem to dislike her life. So I guess if you grow up having no roots, if you grow up with this, I mean, some people just grow up like this, right? Having this yearning, this longing to go out there and become independent, become their own people, right? Although it's very, very unusual for such a young person to not be unhappy, but to run away from home. Even if she didn't have didn't have an actual home in the traditional sense, right? A house or something, or a city that she lived in. She was part of a community, right? And she had parents, so it is very interesting to see her leaving the nest so early, having this overwhelming desire to make her own name in the world, despite seemingly a lot of love that she's gotten from her parents. But yeah, I do wonder what her mother's thinking at this point in time. If this scene earlier was just her imagining her mother now, or if it was an actual, like, she saw her in the city in a city at some point and she was like, nah, I can't show myself. It was just like, regardless of if it was real or not, the feeling I got was like there was a sense of pride of, I can only come back and show myself when I've actually proven myself, type deal, right? Because I ran away and wanted to become this person, right? Wanted to go in a certain direction and become notorious or like famous for being a bard, being a songstress. So when I achieve that, I can come back maybe and we can meet again on eye level. But before that, I can't show myself, which is oftentimes ridiculous, I might say, right? Reaching your goals is not always easy. It's a long process. And even just taking those steps towards that and being independent and taking care of yourself is already something to be really proud of, especially at that age. So she has nothing to really be ashamed about. Even the things she's saying here, where she's like, I'm no hero. Well, are you not? For a lot of people, you are. Not in the traditional sense of protecting the weak or fighting in wars, although one might say that not everybody who fights in a war is a hero. Way way less people than you think who fight in wars are heroes. And even those who are revered as heroes in history might not necessarily be as heroic as you might think, as the history oftentimes, like the saying, as the saying goes, history is oftentimes written by the victors. So things are made a little bit nicer than they actually maybe were in reality. But even if those heroes exist, there's a place for you as well in the world, right? Somebody who is telling these grand tales, who is able to inspire people, who's able to take these stories of the great heroes and the great villains of the past and put them onto people and show them this is an example of what a hero is. This is a heroic story, an adventure tale, all of these things. It's a great thing to have the written and the spoken word to pass on to the next generations, to show them this is who you could strive to be, even if you never reach that ideal. But yeah, I do wonder if her mother is still thinking of her at times, if she's still, obviously we saw her being very happy, but that was just a glimpse, right? A short scene through a window, and we don't see that maybe late at night she's sitting by the campfire and thinking about her daughter and where she might be in the world. Maybe she does have that optimistic, positive personality where she believes that her daughter is fine out there and she's gonna be okay, and one day they'll see each other again. Maybe there is that, but I would be very surprised if she didn't sometimes have these doubts or worries, not knowing where she is in the world. But yeah, talked long enough. Let's continue with that. Liliana, you have a very inconvenient outfit, I'm just saying. It's not really meant for traveling. Okay. Oh, this is beautiful. I would love to stop again, but I'm gonna leave it. It is a song of nature. I think she's delirious, to be honest. She's losing it. Yeah, but sometimes, yeah, you do have these moments. These moments that inspire you. I've had these moments as well. So is this the song she's going back to? Ooh, I love that. We see the fighting while the melody is going on. This is really cool. I do wonder if we're putting the rhythm in here or if it's... okay, we go back to that song. Or maybe a variation of it. But as I was saying, I do think it is these moments where we are exhausted, maybe, right? Stressed. There's a lot of work behind us. We feel pretty spent. And we happen upon a scene. Oftentimes it's nature that captures us like this, but it's other scenes as well sometimes. Moments of clarity that come to us. Where everything suddenly makes sense and falls into place. Those are beautiful moments, and they exist everywhere out here. Ooh, and it's working. Interesting view. Holy shit. Careful. We don't want her to die. I was about to say. And another piece. This is ridiculous. I'm just saying. Yes, resolve. Does it? Holy shit. I'd never thought Priscilla would understand it, but she does. Won't work as well as it does for did for Amelia. Oh yes. And she's not connected. Ooh, that is such a powerful weapon. Woman quite possibly killed an archbishop just now, so... Ooh. She's hard to understand, right? Alright, drama queen. Bro, it just comes out of nowhere. Good you cleared that up. All right. What an episode. A very interesting one. I think like arc 5 of this season has done so much to humanize Priscilla. I mean, I know some people are really into the stereotype of the bitch, basically, who just wants people, like, who's sadistic and just wants people to suffer. And while I never believed her to be that way, there was always this aura about her, this like standoffish aura, where she's keeping people at arm's length and not letting them in. And also her malicious streak, her sadistic malicious streak that she always had, and that she obviously does have. It's not like this character trait has been turned around in this season. But what we have here, in my opinion, is just more characterization. We have a character that isn't just XYZ, but a character that is also conscious of people, understanding more than we maybe thought she would be understanding, caring for more things than we would think. And that's a great addition, because it shows that not just Emilia is a great candidate, but also we've seen numerous times, we've seen in season 1 that Krush is a really great character. We've seen in, well, so far we haven't seen a lot of the other characters. I think we've seen that Felt is a very interesting character and has a very interesting attitude, very much different from the other candidates. We have seen Krush is a very good leader, and Krush is a very good candidate that has upstanding morals. We've seen Emilia's development, of course, but we've also seen now Priscilla as being somebody, and now it makes sense why people look up to her, why she has people who admire her, why she can be received positively. It's not just fake, it's not just show, it's not just boasting, it's also just she understands how people feel, right? She understands, and she has empathy in specific moments. She does take care in specific moments. It's just that she has a different approach in some situations. Just very interesting. It specifies how we categorize her in relation to us as like the Subaru Emilia camp and whatnot. And it makes her a lot more sympathetic for probably most of the audience here. Because she put it really spot on in this episode, where she was like, love and passion and all these things, unity. It's not being one. It's not basically thinking the same. It's not basically being the same. It's accepting that we are all different and coexisting despite those differences, right? Being in agreement, in some kind of agreement, while we are all different. Not like Sirius does it, where she puts her feelings, her own feelings, or the feelings of some central person above everybody else's and kind of overwrites their feelings, right? Or forces them to hyper empathize with them. To the point that if one of us dies, all of us die. Which is an extreme that I guess in a sense it could be seen as a metaphor for maybe autocratic nations, if you want to. If you want to read really deep into it, you could be looking at communities that try to put one will and one directive into people, right, and try to reduce them all to the same thing, to like the typical stereotypical gray masses. And you could put that on systems in general, right? Like science. You could say that science is often trying to see what the average human being is looking at, what the average human being feels, what the average human being is reacting to, and how they're reacting to it. But I think in the case of science, especially psychology, for example, it's often done because we do want to first establish what is the most effective for the biggest number of people, right? And then we can start differentiating, okay, there's other groups of people, less percentage of the population, where other approaches might work better. Because obviously the desire in psychology or medicine or other fields of science that are related to people, right? The anthropocentric sciences. The main goal here is to try to help as many people as possible. So we need to generalize at first, and then we need to specify as we go further into the field of study. That's what you always do, right? You start with explorative analysis, you start with feeling people out and getting all of the answers, and then you start seeing common factors that are the most frequent, right? The most important things, and you start to build them like little foundational blocks in your theories. And then you're like, okay, these are the most important things. Let's try to build on them. And once we have like worked out a good theory of them and put them all together, kind of, we can take all of these like exceptional cases, the differences and whatnot, and we can put them on top of that. Now therapy, very interesting, therapy goes a different direction, because therapy, a lot of the effects in therapy, at least as far as we know it at this point in time, a lot of the effects of therapy have to do with therapists being very adaptive to their clients. So patients, clients who come to a therapist, oftentimes we need to specifically find a solution for them instead of trying to treat them all the same, basically. So it's a lot of the theory when it comes to therapy focuses on patient-therapist matches. It focuses on finding the right solutions that are specific for that kind of person, because oftentimes we don't have a central answer, like a simple answer that everybody will be able to work with. It's very interesting how this is different from general psychology. But yeah, Priscilla put it spot on, really. I don't think this episode was very impressive on the animation level, unfortunately. I mean, there was a couple of really cool animations for the Priscilla, the fight parts of Priscilla, but I don't think it was all that great. I'm pretty much sure it is her biological mother, because she looks very much exactly like Liliana. So, though I do wonder if the green-haired man is actually the father, or if he's just the guy that she is seeing at this moment in time, and the father is somebody different that is in her past, kind of. Because we see them later on with a child that has, I think, green hair. But yeah, Liliana seems to have taken up a lot of the characteristics of her mother. The cheerfulness, the kind of like, also just a little bit airhead personality, the talent as well, right? Being able to sing, being able to perform. But a lot of that is observational learning, right? I mean, look at her. We talked about it during the episode as well. Really cool that she's looking at like stars and stuff like that, because we've, like, I think last episode it was that Subaru has realized that the names of the archbishops are actually the names of stars, much like his own name, which is also connected to stars. I think that was one of the main reasons that he got into stars when he was like pre-isekai. which is a really cool little tidbit. I think he mentioned it at some point in the anime as well, but just like very, very in like a super short sentence or something. And I think in the light novel it has a couple paragraphs here and there. Stop singing ridiculous songs and go to sleep. We need to get up early. And she wants to go to the big city. She wants that glamour. She wants that like attention. But they're like, we just sing free and easy in a wee village, right? They're like, just focus on a simpler life, right? Because there's jurisdictions and they'd have to probably account for more paperwork. You do see that a lot when you like have nomadic kind of people who are going around. Like, I think these days you don't use the term anymore, but back in the day you did say something like gypsies, where you're like people who are performers oftentimes, or just like nomadic in nature and moving from town to town or from village to village and doing various things that they're good at, be that crafting or be that performative arts or whatever, and earning their money like that, but enjoying it to I say enjoying it, but like if you're a child born into this, it's not necessarily the case that you're actually enjoying it. Some people hate the life. Other people who are born in the city, like in very strict environments, they might desire to live a life like that. It's very funny how there's so much joke and banter going on between the three of them, but she seems to have a dream. I do wonder how they split, if she just ran away or if there was like an actual split where she was like, I'm gonna go off, and they were like, okay, we trust you to find your own way or whatever. Or if that was something that was kind of expected of her, that at some point in time the parents had in the back of their mind, they were like, yeah, she's gonna go at some point in time, and if she thinks she's ready, then we'll let her and we'll trust that she will actually be able to do that. I just spooked myself by activating that. Alright, let us go in. I don't want to stick too long here. Just want to go through a little bit. We have like some relatively simplistic animation. I think it's really cool that she spins so much, right? We do have like a lot of like pirouettes in there and different angle. Holy shit. Booty coming right for our right for the camera. But yeah. And she does seem to have like some kind of, I guess, magic charm kind of thing going on, where she can sacrifice material objects in order to prevent harm to her body. I don't know. It's probably related to her kind of magic, when she has like the sword, where she's also like I think it's the Yin sword, right? Yin is light magic as far as I remember, right? There's yin and yang. Yang is the dark magic that Subaru, for example, and Beatrice are capable of, and Priscilla has yin magic, which is like sun magic, like light magic, apparently. I do wonder if that is like, if she's more powerful during the day, if that is a factor, or if that is irrelevant. Iris and the King of Thorns. Still don't know what that is. Maybe it's mentioned somewhere, I don't remember. But it seems to set her off a lot. Either the story is connected directly to her, or maybe a relative of hers, like parents or whatever. Or maybe it's just a story that she knows about that she does really not like, right? Because it resonates with her in some way. King of Thorns. King of Thorns feels a lot like it is a king who is very, very dangerous and hurtful to the outside, right? Like thorns are being associated with like you quickly bleeding if you don't pay attention around thorns, right? But oftentimes it's a defense mechanism of plants to actually keep right? Keep animals from eating them. It's very interesting that we have that. And iris is, as far as I know, iris is the name of a flower, right? So there is maybe the idea that the beautiful woman, the beautiful girl, the beautiful flower was having a love affair or whatever, or married the king of thorns, who himself's like, I mean, roses have thorns as well. They can be beautiful, but they're also hostile to the outside, as I have just said. You simply silence that which is inconvenient. Myself aside, the fact that it didn't work on the songs is clearly getting to me. Yeah. And that's like a thing you notice a lot with people. Especially these days, but I mean, I say these days, but it's like just recent events that kind of highlight that again, where people are very much outspoken about being able to, or wanting to be able to say anything they want and share their opinion without getting any backlash or without getting any back talk, without anybody refuting them or disagreeing with them. And they consider that a right to themselves, but as soon as somebody's saying something they disagree with, they would like to shut them up immediately. So there's this idea of like, we want to be united, we want to have unity, we want to all, right, get together and be as one. But at the same time, if you're not compliant with my opinion, if you're not agreeing with me, then I will kind of exile you, right? I will isolate you away from me, from us as a unit, because I can't have any dissidence within my own ranks. And this is what Priscilla points out. She's like, and I think that is maybe also her approach as a leader, right? That her idea is, it's okay if people are different. Maybe it's even great if people are different. And as a good leader, you need to be able to accept that and deal with that and still get along, still get your will if you want to, right? Still convince people to actually work for you. And she clearly expresses that multiple times throughout this fight, where she is pointing out that it is kind of ridiculous and stupid to assume that people just have to be of one opinion with you. Right? We have that talk about the husband where she's like, the only thing your husband gave you was anger. I have 8 husbands, and they all showered me with gifts. And she's like, right, I put so much attention into Betelgeuse, right, supposedly her husband, to form a connection with her heart. And she's like, don't blame me for your lack of charm, right? And what she's saying here is like, not that she doesn't give those husbands attention, but rather that she thinks that she has enough charm and she pays enough attention to all of them to satisfy them all. She's like, it's your own problem if you only have enough love or charm or attention in your heart for one person. At least that's how I'm reading it. Obviously, it comes off a little bit more brash, a little bit more less softly. If somebody like Emilia would be saying it, it would probably be more along the lines of, I have enough space in my heart for all of them. But if somebody like Priscilla is saying it, it's obviously, I got enough charm in order to keep them all in love with me, right? And devoted and satisfied. But she has realized very, very quickly that Sirius, what Sirius's weak point is, which is pointing out all her inconsistencies and trying to get her, like, questioning her love for Betelgeuse in this sense. And that is awakening her wrath. But I think it's very interesting that she says that the wrath is the only gift he ever gave to her. which would imply that Betelgeuse actually made her the Archbishop of Wrath, which would imply that Betelgeuse had, or at least knew where to find and how to give the authority of Wrath. And it would also imply that that he had a personal connection to her and chose her to become Wrath, right? Because he gave it to her. I mean, obviously there's still the idea of it sprung forth out of her, right? Like almost a natural thing as a result of being exposed to Betelgeuse, right? That there's like something like an awakening of the archbishops that just happens somewhere randomly in the world. That's also a possibility, of course. But the only time we ever seen an authority being granted or being like merging with a person was when Betelgeuse did it, and that was something that he has like had like an object and put into himself. So I do wonder if this is the only way you can become an archbishop, or if you can be born like that, or if you can like have an awakening kind of at some point in time. Alright, the light show is great as always. And like I said, I do love like the sword. It's the kind of sword I would pick up in a Dark Souls game or whatever. It's like exactly the kind of weapon I would probably go for, because it looks really cool. It has an amazing design with the red and the black, and it, like the gold accents on the hilt. And it's a heavy hitter, which is always a really great choice in my opinion. But yeah, Liana realizing how hard it is to be right, to be self-sufficient, to be independent, but having these little small efforts of appreciation, right, of like just seeing that whatever she's doing is bearing fruit. And I think like those are probably the most rewarding times that we receive money, right? The times when we do something like this for the first time, when we're still not sure if what we're doing is of any value, and the world shows us through very small ways in the beginning. It shows us that there is some value to what we are doing. And this is what keeps us motivated long enough to hone this craft to the point that we can actually go out there and do it in a like develop and improve and do it in a bigger and bigger way, and a bigger and bigger fashion, and expand. And yeah, I think that's a great thing, especially for people who are artistic. Also very funny how she's like stumbling from one disaster into another. Yeah, I don't know. Oh yeah, the son doesn't have green hair, but like it's pretty clear that they're a couple. I don't know if he's the actual father of her, but whatever that means. Reflection of herself, where she's telling herself she's not a raid or a flugel. And the epiphany of a beautiful, beautiful scene, like a tranquil scene of nature that inspires her. If the song coming from this, right? I almost thought she was actually being seriously hurt, but nice fake out. Nice fake out. Yeah, I mean, really cool. And with that, everyone facing the same direction, thinking the same things. Almost sounds like Subaru, huh? But yeah, really cool. And it doesn't work on her because she can choose her targets, which is really a really cool power to have, where you're like, my strikes only hit whatever I want. Whatever I want to be hurt by it, so really cool. The sunlight fades, so the sun is in shadow. Count yourself lucky, boar. I do wonder if she becomes more powerful when the sun is in shadow, or if like the nature of her powers change. She's like, consider yourself lucky that we didn't fight right now, because yeah. Oh wait, there's an after credits. Okay, I guess we're gonna watch the after credits. You gotta have to skip right here if you want to see the after credits. All right, let's go. Oh, great stuff. Got like double speed. Holy shit. Okay. All of you. Ooh. Yeah, yeah. It's in his world, right? Not in this world. Unseen. Ooh, unseen hand. Leo. The little king. Lion's heart. How does he get to time though? That is shallow posing, I guess. Maybe Subaru knows something about the myth around like the star that I don't know, but this is like some very convoluted power. I'm just gonna say that. Like, to all of you anime onlys who were like, wait, was I supposed to figure this out? Me, and I am pretty sure a lot of people who read the novel have not figured this out until it was revealed in the novel. So we'll see how it is explained next episode. We have the first part of it already now, but we'll see how it goes, right? Let's jump into episode 12. I think this is the best thing we can do right now. Seemingly, this is going to be the Regulus episode, so I'm really, really excited about this one. Let's get this party started in 3, 2, 1. Right. Does it mean no OP? Hopefully. Oh, cool angle. Connected to his sprites. But what is his little kingdom? Right, what is that? Yeah. But that's not it. That's true. Senjugahara. They lost hope. Do you remember it? What Priscilla was saying.
何が言いたいんです。私とあなたは違ってて、それでも大丈夫ってこと。だから、あなたの名前を教えて。私はエミリア。ただのエミリア。あなたといろんなところが違うけど、きっと同じところもあるハーフエルフ。
Yeah, don't look at your differences. But it's easier when you're not. Nothing, but she wants to know. Okay.
あなたたちがすごく一生懸命だったことも分かってる。私たちの何があなたたちが助けてほしいって叫んでるのが分かってる。
That is true.
あなたの全部がそう言ってた。目も声もそう言ってた。だから助ける。そのためにあなたたちにも私を助けてほしいの。
But how? That's the question.
お願い。私にあなたたちと私の騎士様やみんなを助けさせてください。少しお待ちを。聞きたいことがあります。今までみんなに聞いてこられなかったこと。あの男のこと、好きな人はいる
？Nobody ever asked.
私は嫌い。私も嫌い。嫌いだった。ずっと嫌だった。嫌い。どうかしてる。頭がおかしい。死ねばいいのに。昨日より嫌い。明日の方が嫌い。シリュウの方がマシ。話が長くて回りくどい。喋るたびに死んでほしい。助けなんて言うからあいつを殺して。あれを愛する人間なんていない。シルフィー。私の名前はシルフィーです。すごくいい名前ね。
It is.
一致していたのにずっと言えませんでした。あんな男大嫌いでした。私たちにも協力させてください。
It's very interesting, right? I do think that regardless of his powers and whatnot, that obviously have to adhere to a certain stereotype of character. Although we spin that in a very different way, as I said, ReZero has a very interesting approach to all of the sins. But aside from that, I do think that if we wanted to look at Regulus realistically, and we've done that in the past couple of episodes as well, we would have to say that most likely the way he conducts himself, his character, it comes like his narcissism. It comes from this idea that nobody can really love him, right? This insecurity, this this lack of self-worth, right? Which is trying to be overcompensated by centering everything, like focusing all of his attributions onto himself, right? Everything bad that is being put out into the world is being directed at him. Everything good should be directed at him, right? There's this inability to put yourself into the shoes of others, but also this desperate plea to be loved. And the only way he thinks he can be loved is to control the people that are around him, right? To force them to love him, basically. Right? Show him love, affection, to show him to agree with him, to attribute all kinds of power to him that he himself feels he can't otherwise get, right? Not just for being who he is. It is very ironic then that by doing exactly that, by doing exactly what he is doing, forcing his will onto others, trying to control every minute detail about them, trying to control everything in his environment, he's denying himself the one thing that he desperately longs for, which is genuine love. Not only that, I think that even more fascinating is that he himself doesn't seem to have any idea about what genuine love really is and feels like. Which kind of makes you feel like he's never experienced it. So love for him is just superficiality, right? Love is obedience. Love is agreeing with him and giving him everything that he needs. Love is his rights as a human being because he has to take those rights. Otherwise, people will take them from him. This is why he's going on about his rights. It's like, my right to have this. It's my right to have that. You're interfering with my right. If he wouldn't try to enforce, or if he wouldn't try to demand his rights, then people would take it away from him. That's his cognitive world, basically. That's how he perceived things. So he has to fight for every little right that should, like, every little thing that should be his. He has to fight for it. That's what he thinks, right? In his delusional little world. It is very ironic that he, by doing the things he does, he's taking away exactly that thing that he maybe subconsciously longs for, but also that would help him the most as a human being. Let's continue. Sorry to cut that thank you off, but it is what it is. Yeah, what's the point? How does it work? Nothing they are aware about, at least. Alright, the heart is beating. Alright. How does that work? How the hell does that work? Also, Subaru, mad respect for surviving so long. Bro is a maverick. He's a survival master. Oh, he even confirms it. He just lays it out? Oh, it's just one of them. Which would stop any hero to try to do that, right? Literally. Hold on, hold on. Hold on.
こを倒すには重ねられた私の心臓を止めるしかありません。ダメ、お願い待って。きっと何か方法が。あの男が逃げ道を用意するはずがありません。どうして勝手に諦めるの？そんなの絶対に嫌よ。
I mean, you all have to, right? Because it probably jumps to the next person.
誰かが犠牲になって。
Ooh, that frame. Almost looked like Satella there. Oh, this can stand as a metaphor for so many things. This is like abusive relationship 101. Yes.
そうね。死のうって思ったことは何度もある。そう。死ねば家族のみんなとまた会える。どうか。私たちで終わらせて。あの男に私たちの怒りをきっと届けて。
Props for getting them there, but this is not what Emilia wanted.
あなたたちの鼓動を止める。ごめんなさい。こんな方法しかなくて。謝らないでください。ありがとう。
よいしょ。は？おいお前。
How does he know though?
死にそうなふりか。信じてたよ。
Or is like Reinhardt back?
絶対ベラベラと勝ち誇るバカだって。おかげでお前の正体は分かったぜ。コケにしやがって。この僕を誰だと思ってる。クソ野郎以外の模範解答がねえよ。この。強かったらいいな。
So he doesn't know. Now he knows. This is a sign. She didn't. But you don't have to know this, Regulus. She didn't, but you don't have to know this. Don't say it. Don't talk about it. He still has it. But what changed? I love that, like, the little OST. Ooh, that's a cool angle. $53. You tell him. Ooh, I love that with the thing in the middle.
レグルスの心臓はここ。今、私の胸の中にあるわ。
She recognized it.
何がおかしいんだよ。おかしいに決まってるだろう。あのさ、意味わかってる？自分たちで自分たちの首をキレーッと締めてるんだってことをさ。本気であいつの心臓は。
本当。美精霊のみんなに確認してもらった。
Ooh, okay, through the spirits.
自分で感じるの。
Okay, but she also.
自分の奥さんにふさわしくないってあれだけ言ってたくせに。
うるさいな。ぐだぐだ偉そうに説教するなよ、インバイ。それよりもあいつの心臓は誰でも好きな相手に宿るのか。だとしたら獅子の心臓が延々と逃げ続ける。
Is there a rule for that, right?
試してみれば。他に僕の心臓が宿る場所があるかどうか。お前簡単だよ。今目の前にいるその女を殺せばいいんだ。できるわけないよね。
I'm sure we're gonna find a solution.
スバル。
待て、ダメだ、挑発になっちゃう。
でも
本当にダメだ。それだけは。君あれだろう。式の前にでかい声でいろいろと放送してたやつだろう。なんだっけ、滞在司教を殺したとか。笑い草もいいとこだよね。あんな出来損ないを殺したぐらいで僕に勝てるとか勘違いしたんなら。
Archbishops killing each other. Bashing each other, I mean.
なる前もなってからも何一つ満足にやり遂げられないグズだったんだからさ。まさかそんなことがやれるのか。
Ooh. I mean, you know you have the power, right? But what are you thinking?
エミリア、俺を信じて全部任せてくれるか。
スバルならやってくれるってずっと信じてる。
That's a shit-eating grin. If I've ever seen one. Ooh. Sloth time.
見えざるて。
He's actually not attacking Regulus.
なんだ、そこにいたんだね。ジュース。
Wow. That's
捕まえた。
ooh. Yeah.
生きてるよな。
大丈夫。ちゃんと私の心臓、私の中で動いてるから。
はあ？なんなの？自分たちだけで分かり合っちゃって周りは置いてきぼりなんですけど。
Does he only feel it when he actually employs his power?
お前気づいてないのか。
Yeah, he hasn't noticed.
足元濡れてるぞ。お前ら
Holy shit. Bro's dirty the first time in his life. Ooh. He can still do it though, right? Like it just... It hurts him.
なんでお前たちなんかがどうやって強欲の権能を僕の権利を。
Yes.
あれだけ見ててわからねえなら説明しても無駄だよ。まあ単純な話あれだ。お前ナメクしてる間に敵に逆襲されたんだよ。
This is too great. You just keep smacking him. I'm just gonna let this play. Super is like, holy shit, I've never seen something like this.
花嫁さんたちの分はおしまい。あとはちゃんとやられて。うるゲーム。
Ooh. One last track, I think.
やってくれるじゃないか。そういうことか。
何？
無敵化するために自分の心臓を止めなくちゃならない。完全に時間制限付きの無敵化だな。
Now he actually has to fight.
あのさ、君たち今日だとか思わないのかな。あ？二人がかりで一人をいたぶるような真似をして心が痛まないわけ。
Sorry, poor Regulus, I'm sorry.
人として大事な部分がどうかしたんじゃないの？お前本当にすげえな。つまりお前はあれか、2対1なんて卑怯者のすることだから1対1で正々堂々戦おう、そういうわけか。そうだよ、僕を誰だと思ってる。魔女家が滞在思考強欲担当のレグルス・コルニアスだぞ。
言ったことがすぐに変わるし、話してる内容は空っぽでよくわからない。私、あなたのこと世界で一番かわいそうな人だと思うわ。
Oof.
避けるな。この僕をコケにしたことを後悔させてやるからな。レグルス、お前との一騎打ち受けてやってもいいぜ。そうだよ、そうこなくちゃ。
With Reinhardt, right?
騎士が自分のご主人様の後ろに隠れて応援してるだけだってことはしないよね。そうだな、騎士が戦うのが道理だ。だからまたになっちまうが、最後は任せる。よかったよ。
See you, Regulus.
挑まれた一騎打ち、騎士として受けよう。バカな、空の彼方まで。
Bro pulled the Saitama.
確かにあれには困らされたよ。ただ君は一つだけ間違えたね。僕を月に向かって投げるべきじゃなかった。この騎士団所属。フェルト様が一の騎士。
Honestly, this had to happen.
ラインハルト・バン・アストレア。待って。
Time out, time out. This is ridiculous.
ありえない。なんで僕がこんな目に遭わなきゃならないんだよ。
Yeah, only to you. You did nothing wrong.
強行欲担当レグルス・コルニアスだ。この世で最も満たされて、最も子として完成された心身ともに揺らぐ余地のない存在。
Called Karma.
悪くない、何も悪くない。お前らが悪いんだ。お前らが僕を哀れんでかわいそうがって一人にするんだ。笑い声が聞こえる。僕を見ているだろう。僕を見て笑ったんだろう。僕の何がおかしい。僕の
Left me alone.
笑った。ヘラヘラと笑うな。僕の妻は笑わなかった。僕の最初の妻は何をしたって笑わなかった。ただ綺麗な顔でずっと僕を見ていた。妻の家族を殺して妻に言い寄る人間をみんな殺して二人きりでずっと彼女は笑わなかった。それでいい。妻は笑わなくていいんだ。笑わせられなかったんじゃない。笑わなくていいんだ。笑わない顔が綺麗だったんだから笑わなくていいんだ。待てよ、なんで笑う。やめろ。どうして最後の瞬間にだけ笑う。笑うな。
Mm.
僕は一 う意志をなくした時点で僕も剣を引くところだけどね。化け物め。そうだね。僕は化け物を狩る。
A monster that hunts monsters. I mean, he's fighting.
79番目の妻、その予定だった女。そもそもその番号はもともと別の。思い出した。あの女、僕をコケにした79番とペテルギウスが大事にしていたガキだ。
You didn't even remember.
ふざけるなよ。これで僕が死んで、あの娘が母親とペテルギウスの仇を取って幸せになるなんて。ヘドが出る。エミリアタン、すっきりしない顔してんね。
レグルスなんだけど、私どこかで会ってた気がしてて。
She doesn't remember either.
それならいつ？
それがね、思い出せないの。
I mean, it's traumatic memories, right?
あの女が僕が死んで喜ぶなんて。くそー、絶対にごめんだ。絶対に絶対絶対絶対絶対絶対絶対絶対。
This is not a pretty death.
レグルスって私とどこで会ってたんだろう。
Ooh, I wonder why the CEO was, like, visible here. Was it a KO? I don't think so, right? Maybe. I don't know. I'm sure I'm sure the joke is a lot, or that the reference is a lot cleverer than just being a KO. Or maybe not. Absolute cinema. Oh, and we have another after credits scene.
ね、起きて。お寝坊さんもそろそろ起きなくちゃダメよ。
And we have a happy ending. Somewhat. I mean, sure, she was ready to die.
エミリアタンは大したもんだ。よく気づいたね。花嫁さんたちを氷漬けにして仮死状態にしようなんて。
私も凍ってた時間が長かったから。
I mean, yeah.
みんなも大丈夫かしら。
そのためのラインハルト。それにぶっちゃけみんな俺より強いからね。
I mean, that doesn't mean they don't have worthy opponents. Ooh, this is what's gonna happen next. All right, Willem and Garfield. Interesting. I actually have to open that one again. Or... Boom. Okay, yeah, this one is gonna be... I think the animation was a lot better in this episode compared to the last one. But it makes sense, because this was the big fight, the Regulus fight. The Subaru-centric one as well, right? We don't have to go through everything, but this scene had a lot of interesting and cool animation moments. we start with the normal dialogue, but we're trying to reach these people, right? We're trying to reach these girls on an emotional level, and that is hard for somebody who has basically put themselves off from the world outside, right? We do have people who, through pain and suffering and through like just abuse, have learned to shut completely down, right? I'm pretty sure that there have been cases in the past where people have reached out to them, wanted to save them, wanted to help them. And the result has always been the same. They died, and the girls got punished for possible insolences, for disobediences, for being hopeful, right? There's nothing worse than getting your hopes up that something good is gonna happen, something's gonna relieve you of pain and suffering, and then learning that it's not gonna happen after all. Even if you're not getting punished. But if you're getting physically punished, if you're getting mentally punished on top of that, that's even worse. It's very interesting how they're trying to find that point of separation of like, we're not the same, to reflect or to defend against this attempt to actually reach into their vulnerabilities, right? To be like, hey, come on, you need to help me, we're gonna be able to do this, right? They're trying to reach those hopes that are buried deep within that. They're like, no, you don't know us, right? You don't know how long we've been through this. Especially with her, I do think Sylvie here actually has been there the longest, or one of the longest, probably. Especially like from Regulus's monologue at the end of that, so there's that as well. So the naive, I want to help you, it's gonna be fine, of Amelia is not gonna reach them immediately. It gets met with a lot of defense, which is pretty normal for somebody who has been traumatized throughout years and years and years of abuse. There's a lot of defense against possibly making yourself vulnerable again and then getting hurt again. Why must you try and make us human after everything that's happened? Right? It's like, so long as we keep him satisfied by remaining his obedient dolls, right? Just dolls. And that's the problem. The problem is, what are you living for? But at the point that they are at, this is not relevant anymore, because they've detached themselves so much from their own inner feelings, from their emotions, that this question isn't even gonna occur to them. Not because they haven't asked themselves that before, but more along the lines that they have given up that question long ago, and even dying in that sense, right? Like, just having and bringing an end to their suffering is something they oftentimes have not been rewarded with, right? Because I'm pretty sure that there are other punishments that Regulus dishes out that are not just killing somebody. Even though he did it in a temper tantrum earlier when she was disobedient, but even then we do have that last moment of defiance where she smiles and where she's like, I'm willing to accept this. But it is a spur of a moment decision. It is not something where she's constantly thinking about, right? Because this opportunity might not present itself very often. Although it probably has happened often in the past, if we are to believe Regulus's inner monologue at the end of this, right? Where he's like, I keep killing them, and they just, at the last moment, they just smile. Right? Won't be killed because we believe that it was our one meager act of resistance, right? That we are gonna stay obedient and not get killed. which is kind of a very twisted way, because this is actually what he wants, right? This is exactly giving him what he wants in a way, so it's very interesting that they see that as a kind of a resistance, right? Because maybe it would be easy to give up and try to get yourself killed, but then that would mean you're giving up, and by not doing that, they're basically like, this is the last straw they put themselves onto, because this is the last point in which they cannot give up, otherwise he has won. The problem is, if you don't get to an end where he gets defeated, right, and gets ousted and whatever, and you get free, then that resistance is futile, right? Because and now the moment presents itself, but they don't want to believe it because they've been disappointed so much in the past. At least that's how I read it. Very nice, like the focus on the hands here, right? Like very clenched, very tense, very like trying to keep it in, very, right? You do feel all of that stress and emotion in there that she's trying to keep in herself, right? Not let out. What do you know about us, right? And we do have that beautifully drawn and animated face where we do really feel that emotion coming through. In the previous shots of her, we do have this closed off face, right? Barely any emotion. The eyes don't have any depth to them. There's no light, or barely any light in them, right? They're non-reflective. This is how you show that somebody's not engaged on a personal, emotional, mental level with the outside world. And as we go from Emilia, who's shining from her eyes, right? And like glowing from all of her face. As we go over to her, we do have these tense, right? These tense muscles everywhere, from the face to the hand to everything, and it's breaking out slowly but steadily. And then we have the despair that's coming through. Very well animated. Right? It's like, and we have to gnaw at it. We have to work at it, right? We have to dig and grind in order to constantly bring up new points in order to get through to them, right? And I guess this is what reached them in the end. Your entire being is crying for help, right? You are asking for help, even if you don't want to admit it, even if you, right? Everybody who is outside and who is paying attention, who is empathetic, sees that. And then we asked the question that we never asked before, right? Because we are always we're too afraid to question it. We're too afraid to ask the other girls, because it's like, if one of them, even one of them, really likes him or loves him, or, right, or worships him in a way, then there's this danger of this, we're not all on the same page. I'm saying something and she actually loves him, so she's going to be loyal to him in all cases, which means if I utter a word of criticism, it's gonna reach his ears. If I do anything that could betray the fact that I absolutely despise him, it could mean my death, right? But it also could mean, if I put something like that out to people and the people don't agree with me, then that means I'm alone in the feelings that I have, right? I'm alone in the fear and hatred and disgust that I feel for him. But you do see that beautiful shot, by the way it's like tilted in a way, and we have the moonlight rays coming through. Gorgeous. Also the whole way, like the carpet is like moving in the direction of Emilia, and we do have her standing in the front of the screen, slightly to the right, not directly in the middle, and we do have the direct line of the moon rays as well as of the carpet going from her to Emilia as a connective point. Really cool. But as we see, as soon as one person utters that, it's like, I hate him, the dam breaks and everybody follows suit. Like that wave, that energy that comes from like a collective movement, right? A collective movement in a direction when it comes to thoughts, when it comes to ideas and opinions, when it comes to feelings. And that can be a powerful wave. Right? He's so childish. He's like, right? He's just a child. Some of them are like, he's just a child. Right? Basically. A spoiled child. And we're brainstorming and we're thinking, and she apparently uses her like spirits to actually feel that out, and then she's listening and she's like, that's absolutely horrible. And the conclusion we get to, another brilliant shot, another great shot. The animators and the art stuff are doing major work in this episode, right? Look at that. We are on the ground, right? Beaten up, out of focus. He's right in the middle of the screen. Behind him, that tall tower, which is also giving him this authority in a way. And then we have like the buildings being very tall in front of us, like they're very close, and the sky is kind of crushing down on us, or like the fog as well. But yeah, what we find out is he actually has the ability, for some reason or another, I mean, some of these abilities are absolutely bonkers and crazy, to attach his heart, which I guess would be the main problem, magically to one of his wives, which allows him to use the already very powerful ability of his to stop time for his own body by not including his heart, right? And his heart doesn't stop, so it doesn't affect him. So he can technically indefinitely use that power. I guess in a way it's also a metaphor for greed, right? That he didn't just want this power of like stopping time, that he did want it infinitely. And for that he like has the wives, and if one wife dies, it goes to the next one, right? If he kills one, it goes to the next one. That's why he needs so many, right? Because it's like, right? It's the perfect hostage in a way. If somebody finds out that secret, they're gonna be like, well, I need to kill all of them, but I don't want to, right? Because most of the time the people fighting against him would be righteous, heroic people, and they're like, can I really kill 10, 20, 30, 50 innocents for the sake of defeating this person? And even if they decide to do that in the end, the hesitation is enough to maybe die in the process of that. I said it before, like, props to fucking Subaru for making it this long. Like, the way he dodges everything is like miracle, to be honest. Miracle. Crazy how much this guy is absolutely playing at the best of his ability, despite being just a normal ass dude for the most part. Right. And we do have, oh, that's a great shot. We do have that ability, or that decision that if this is the case, they're gonna take themselves out for it. And why not, right? Like, even before that, they were willing to die in a sense, right? Because that would be kind of a relief to them. But they were obviously holding on to that because they still have that will to live. They buried deep within them. They still want to maybe also succeed over him, outlive him, and say, look, we survived past you, right? Because that is also an act of defiance. But if they have to sacrifice themselves to defeat him, then they would gladly do it. But just leave people to die in front of me, then why did I even leave the forest in the first place? And we have this beautiful shot, look at that. And she looks very much like Satella in season 2 here. The resemblance is very uncanny. You have the very super detailed eyes and the emotionality in there. But she has an idea freeze them all. Stop their hearts, basically, which means he can't really, right? Like, his heart can't be there. Or maybe the ice is also kind of like a magic barrier shield. I don't know. Right? I don't know how it works, but at the very least, she freezes them and they're like basically frozen dead at this point in time. But she doesn't use her super special power, so it's not like she can't thaw them again, right? It's her normal magic. We have a little bit banter and back and forth, and we have like stuff like this where it's like, oh, holy boom, just the entire house in half. Right. And we got the signal. Love like the different the proportions that we're playing with the eyes and the face and whatnot. And he's like absolutely out of his mind. He's like, would a normal human being really kill so many people? How dare you? How can you? Which is very ironic given that the amount of people he has killed. But I guess that rules for thee, but not for me, right? And we talk about it a little bit. Again, great shot. Great shot. Tilted angle. Kind of dutchy. We do have the leg of Subaru in the frame. Very important to set the ground, right? To like, if we would just be looking at Regulus, that wouldn't have the same effect because we don't have that opposition. We don't have them standing opposite of one another in our perception, right? This makes it a lot stronger, especially with like the feet on the ground. It feels like he is grounded. He has a steadfast position. He's standing his ground, basically. And opposite of him, a little bit smaller in the frame, but to the left, you have the opponent, Regulus, in this sense. In this sense, he kind of like, the leg takes up so much space of the frame that it feels like he is in the dominant position here. And Regulus is the one on the back foot. Right. And he's still going on. But you make up for this, right? The damage you have caused me. And again, really great framing. It's not like a super detailed shot, but it's a really great framing how we use the water canal basically as a structure to separate the two parties who are standing opposed to one another, don't see eye to eye, and with the two symmetrical buildings in the background. Really cool framing, really effective. We have the grimaces, we have the faces, we have the steel in their eyes, right? And she's ready to go for it. She's like, let me do it, right? I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna sacrifice myself. He's like, you can't do it, right? You can't. Like, I mean, not to her, but to Subaru. It's like, you would never do that. And then he starts mocking and monologuing. He doesn't kill them, right? Like, and that's his mistake. He keeps doing that. He keeps going on about like his rights and like, right? He would probably talk for hours upon hours upon hours if you let him. And that's his main weakness. He just leaves enough space and time for people to figure out what to do about him. It's like mocking Betelgeuse. The interesting thing is he literally brings Subaru to his idea, right? Subaru's thinking of Betelgeuse as he's mocking Betelgeuse, and then he's like, wait. I got this power from him, right? I used it one time on like Garfield in season 2. Can I do that? But it's a spark, right? It's that light bulb that goes off. And then he's like, you know what? Let's try that. Obviously, Emilia full trust in him being the smug. That's a shit-eating grin if I've ever seen one. Really great. Another great. Look at this shot, right? Him taking up a lot of space in the frame, but not like only half, right? And the other half is open, it's free, it feels liberating, and the two of them are standing there, unperturbed, not defensive, right? He's taking up a lot of space. He's like very powerful. That's what you feel in that frame. But he's not overwhelming. There's frames that are different, right? Where somebody's overpowering. This is not overpowering. This is defensive but strong, standing there, right? It's like if you imagine Regulus from his back, there would be wings sprouting to like half the screen, basically taking over half the screen, like above Emilia and Subaru, but not the space they occupy. It's very interesting, right? It puts the thing in perspective, right? And the sky is so open that the possibilities are open. And we're not looking up at the sky completely, which means it's not pushing us down, right? It's not suppressing us or oppressing us. It's not weighing us down. And then we start with like the most insane frame you've ever seen, right? Hair flowing, everything going purple, right? Because of like that. We had that last time as well, right? Eyes flaring. He's not even saying invisible providence, he's just saying unseen hand. He's like, this is for my boy Juice. I'm joking because Subaru absolutely hates his guts because he doesn't know that connection with the Emilia and whatnot, but yeah. Or maybe she's told him, who knows? Who knows? Maybe she's told him in the time that they were able to speak and whatnot. And then we go from that like super like, oh, he's gonna attack Regulus, he's gonna smack him around, into, oh no, wait. That's not what's happening. And we're in white space and she's very calm because she feels that presence of a Juice, apparently. However twisted it might have been at the end. I do wonder, like, in season 1, if she's also, like, crying because she feels Juice as, like, the final confrontation that we have. Like, that one of the loops where she's, like, standing in for the villagers and fighting against him head on, right? Do wonder if that was one of the sources of her crying, right? That she kind of felt that this was somebody she used to know. So obviously back then she didn't have her memories, but I still feel that maybe. Crush it. Break down. Right. And again, he leaves them so much time, right? He leaves them so much time. Like way too much. The ground under your feet is wet. Again, cool frame, right? Same thing, was like still powerful. Open sky. Cool like effect on the ground, where like almost like the bendy lens, as if the lens is like the camera is like sitting on the ground basically. And yeah, boom, right in the face, and this is what you deserve, my dude. Holy shit. And this is the first time he's actually gotten dirty, which, yeah. Interesting how he like, I mean, there seems to still be like a lot of power behind him, like, lobbing that rock, but first of all, he can't aim. Yeah, and second of all, it doesn't work, right? And I guess maybe he started and he activated the power and suddenly he's like, oh shit, wait. I have to stop. I have to stop my own heart. It's like, holy. His rights. Right. And this is karma. I've never seen a more acute display of brutality. This is like the difference between her, like the way she expresses herself and actually does it, and like the brutality of what's actually happening is absolutely uncanny. And Subaru feels that, right? He's looking at that like, not sure how I feel about that, but okay. And yeah. Again, cool angle. Very detailed, all of them here. Has to stop his own heart. Subaru is in the driver's seat here. We do see it, right? The sky is up above, right? We're looking up, but we're looking up at Subaru, right? Subaru's big. In the frame. Explaining. Lecturing. Because he has the upper hand. she's like, everything you talk about is so empty, right? It's just phrases, right? And there's like people who are like up there with their head, right? They're not grounded. And he sees Reinhardt coming down. He's like, and now he's appealing. He's like, right? You want to fight 1-on-1? Let's go outside. Catch me outside. How about that? And Subaru is like, you know what? Yeah, let's duel 1-on-1. And for a second, he actually thinks, that's right, right? Let's, I can beat this guy. No, this is your enemy. Interestingly enough, as always, Reinhardt very non-intimidating in his presence, despite being a very, like, probably the most overpowered character. But it's his, like, his politeness also that kind of runs contrary to what he's actually capable of, like the sheer amount of destruction he would be able to cause. Again, really cool, interesting frame, but we're obviously looking at the moon, because this is where he came from just now. Right. Boom. And now we have the final monologue, and I want to go over that a little bit, right? We talked about it a lot already, but I want to go over it a little bit. Why must such terrible things happen to me? Always to me, right? That's the general consensus here. That's his thoughts when something doesn't go his way. It's like, why does this always happen to me? Only to me, not anybody else. So he doesn't have that sensibility. He doesn't have that empathy for anybody else to actually know that this is happening to people all the time. Maybe not this specifically, but that they don't get what they want. That they're getting frustrated, disturbed, bullied, that they're under threat of life. But no, this is not something he is used to, at least in his direct history. We don't know where he came from, right? We had a little glimpse of maybe his early days, but even then he still was the Archbishop. Maybe way back, when Regulus was a wee little child. Maybe back then, this is what he was feeling. This is what he was experiencing. Everything goes wrong. Everybody always blames me. Nobody loves me. Right? Maybe that was it. Maybe that was it. But since then, he has built this invincible shell of a person who always has to control everything, because as soon as something is not under his control, it could hurt him. A person that always ensures that he is loved. A childish idea of love he does have, at least, right? Because as soon as somebody wouldn't love him, wouldn't agree with him, possibly hurt him, right? He could feel small and insignificant. He could feel incapable, unlovable. Deep insecurities. The most fulfilled, the most complete being in this world, right? The self-myth that he has created. That he must be the one who is always more fulfilled than anybody else. And if somebody has something that he doesn't, he needs to get it, because it could mean that this person could be more fulfilled than him. And then he could feel left out, he could feel hurt, right? He could feel loss in a way. Loss of something that he never really had, right? But, I mean, why do people think they're losing money when they're just gain less? Look at capitalism, industry, right? Economy, all of that stuff. It is proven that human beings feel loss a lot more than they do feel winnings, right? right? You win $100, you lose 50, you will feel bad afterwards, despite technically having won $50. Being unwavering both body and mind, right? What he wanted to be, perfect. What he never was in any way whatsoever. It's not my fault. None of this is my fault. This reminds me of like it's a little bit stereotypical, obviously, and not all, like, it's not 100% true, but the narcissist's prayer, right? I can't get it together, but something like, it didn't happen, and if it happened, it wasn't my fault, and it was my fault, it wasn't that bad, right? Stuff like that. It's like, you're the ones who pitied me, who felt sorry for me and left me alone. And this is where he's speaking to. To who is he speaking? Can't be speaking to Subaru or Amelia or his wives, right? Pitied me, felt sorry for me, left me alone. That is like past experience. This is like past trauma here. Now, obviously, trauma can't justify the kind of person somebody is, right? Like, if you're an awful human being, it doesn't, like, you can't justify it by saying I had a bad childhood, or I made some bad experiences or whatever, right? That's not justifying how you behave, and people shouldn't accept you acting in certain ways that hurt other people just because you've had a hard life. But at the very least, it makes us understand better why a person is acting the way they do, right? Makes us, maybe helps us to treat people in a way to not actually let them become somebody like Regulus. It helps us identify where people are hurting and maybe finding a path for them to heal over time. And obviously it's gonna take really long for this to actually happen. I can hear you laughing. You're looking at me, aren't you? You looked at me and laughed. What's so funny? What about you made me laugh? Stop laughing like fools. Right, so this is like him feeling like people look down on him and revel in his misery. And there you see why all of his behaviors focus on everybody who is doing something, who is laughing in the back there, right? Or saying something negative. It's directed at me, and it can't be, right? I need to stand in for my rights, right? It is my right to be free of that harm. And also why he didn't want his wives to laugh, right? Because they could be laughing at him. Can't have that. My first wife never laughed, no matter what I did. And yet he's telling this tale where he killed her entire family. I do wonder what that tale, what that was like. Was it envy? I don't think so, right? Because that wouldn't fit his sin. But yeah, maybe it was greed in a way, right? But even then, you don't know. I think it's very interesting, his take on greed, right? Greed maybe being an expression of insecurity and narcissism. Kind of makes sense in a way, right? It's like, I want to have it all for myself as much as I can and more than anybody else, because I don't want to feel powerless, because I don't want to feel like I'm a nothing, right? Because I want to be loved, which is erroneous in like the logic, but still like makes sense from a human kind of mismatched logic kind of deal. Well, I would assume that maybe pride, which we have no idea who pride is or is gonna be, right? A pride would maybe more be actual pride, not pride in the way that you are. I mean, we can look at Typhon, right? Pride in a naive pride kind of way, right? I'm just proud of myself, and that is who I am, right? And maybe I have the actual right to be proud because I can back that up with something, but my pride is still a sin in a way because it is exaggerated and overdone. Who am I to judge all of these sinners? But I am kind of innocent in a way. It doesn't come from a place of greed. It doesn't come from a place of insecurity. It's quite the opposite. It comes from a place of actual pride. And that could be an interesting spin on pride, I feel. That could be an interesting spin on pride. But who knows, right? That's far off into the future. I have no idea about pride, so, right? Like, saying that, no idea. But yeah, that act of defiance, and he doesn't understand it because he doesn't have the capacity to really understand it. Be that because he's got hurt a lot, or be that because he lacked the ability from the get-go. There are people who do lack the ability to empathize, to actually feel for other people, to feel what they are feeling, or to even understand what they are feeling on a semantic level, on a logical level. It's not my fault, it's not my fault. And he keeps repeating that like a prayer as he's flying in the air. Reinhardt accepting his role as monster who kills monsters, which is very interesting because we do have that in a lot of media, among other things, The Witcher, where it's like, if you have people who are so powerful or so skilled that the monsters are afraid of them, right? They're hunting monsters, basically. They're standing up against them. Yes, they can be seen as heroic by some people, but they can also be seen as something very uncanny and something you may be meant to be afraid of. Because somebody can stand up to these monsters if somebody is so monstrous that they can deal with them. Aren't they monsters themselves? It's very sad that Reinhardt, in a way, maybe sees himself as a monster sometimes. But I guess that also comes from the fact that he's been given these powers and didn't have much choice in it, maybe. Because that is a family power, right? That is an inheritance. And in many ways, you can go away from power and kind of see that as the son of a family who inherits some kind of thing, be that an empire, right? A business empire or whatever. Or be that just some kind of duty. And then your struggle with trying to fill those shoes of your ancestors, right? Yeah. And he fights to the end. I mean, you gotta give him that, right? He doesn't want to give up. That spirit, right? That almost fanatic. I can't let that happen. And he's going into these spirals, right? These thought spirals of how he himself motivates himself to keep going despite the pain, despite the humiliation, because that's like the thought of her rejoicing in my death, the thought of her having the last word, stuff like that, right? It's very selfish, it's very self-centered, it's very much himself, his narcissistic self, but it is in a way a mechanism by which his will to live is sustained, right? Keeps on going, right? It serves the survival of his organism. And in that way, it is functional. And that's the scary thing. That's the scary thing about it. It is functional. They're all much stronger than me. And we tease Garfield and Willem. It's gonna be an interesting couple of episodes. The next one or two. I'll have to see. Yeah, that was ReZero. I did hope you. I did. I'm a little bit sleep deprived, so forgive me that occasional stuttering or like freezing up and not knowing what to say for a second and biting my tongue a little bit. But I do hope you did enjoy this, and I'll see you next time. Don't forget to like and subscribe. It really helps me a lot, especially on ReZero videos, because most of them can't be monetized. They probably could, right? I think I do have the right to monetize them, but sometimes it's not worth the trouble. And with trouble, I just mean the amount of time it takes to just refute that. So oftentimes it's like the best thing you can do for me is give me a like, subscribe, watch as much of the video as you can, and maybe check out my Patreon if you would like to. But yeah, with that, thanks to all of my patrons, and I'll see you next time.